So guys, what if Naruto x Sesshomaru Harem Special Movie 2? The day after the end of the preliminary rounds finds all of the winners waking up slightly sore but proud to have made it to the finals at different times, while the Leaf Genin wake up at 8 a.m. to have breakfast with their families and discuss their training for the month. The foreign Genin go about the day differently, having woken at 6 a.m. and had quick meals before finding training grounds to get down to business. However, in the Senju estate, our red-haired demon lord has already been awake since 5 a.m. Upon waking, he first took a shower, drying himself using his demonic energy before proceeding to put his clothes and armor back on, running demonic energy through them to cleanse them. After getting dressed, he proceeded out into the forests around the village to hunt for food. Finding a boar, he proceeded to kill, gut, and skin it before cooking it over an open fire. He also had some fruit from some of the trees in the estate to go with his meat. After a hearty breakfast, he proceeded to the training grounds out back of the estate and started to do a warm-up. The first thing he decided to do was test the limits of his stamina, so he proceeded to do 1,000 push-ups, 1,000 sit-ups, and 50 laps around the estate. When he completed all of the exercises, he found that he wasn't even slightly winded, whereas last week that warm-up would have had him dripping in sweat and panting pretty good. After his warm-up, he decided to grab an apple and head out into the village to find Kasumi. As he walks through the village, he notices all the civilians giving him looks of fear, and figures they must have heard what he did to that mob last night. However, he isn't at all bothered by it and just calmly eats his apple. He finally zeroes in on Kasumi's demonic energy and proceeds to toss the apple core in a nearby garbage before jumping into the air and flying off in the direction he senses his servant. When he arrives, it's at a training ground that has a large lake. That's where he finds Kasumi, standing in the middle of the water. He lands on the shore and watches as the blue-haired girl concentrates, summoning up her demonic energy, and as she does, she begins to emit an aura of cold from her body, which causes the area of the lake she is standing on to freeze. Naruto clears his throat to get her attention, and when she turns her head to look in his direction, she smiles at seeing her lord, and soon she begins to walk towards him, each step freezing the water below her. When she reaches him, the redhead comments, "I am impressed, Kasumi. Seems you've already been practicing with Toran's powers, however you still have a long way to go. Toran was able to freeze an entire body of water just by unleashing her aura alone. You only managed to freeze a few feet around you in the center of the lake, as well as only freezing a few inches near you as you walked over here." The demoness smiles at his praise at first, before lowering her head at his criticism. She gets down to one knee with her head bowed and says, "I am sorry, my lord. Please forgive my weakness. I will strive to do better, I promise." Naruto shakes his head before grabbing her by the shoulders and making her stand, then lifts her head so he can look her in the eyes. When he has her undivided attention, he replies, "Don't be sorry, Kasumi. As I said, it is impressive that you have gotten your demonic powers this far in such a short time. Continue to train as you have been, and I have no doubt that with time you will be even stronger than Toran was." These words of faith from the demon lord fills the girl with happiness, to show that she smiles at him and says, "Thank you, Lord Naruto." The redhead waves off her thanks as he voices the reason he came there in the first place. "No thanks is necessary. Now I didn't come here to help your ego. I came here to see if you would be inclined to join me in training at the Forest of Death for the month." Hearing this offer, the demoness gets a look of joy on her face. However, it's quickly wiped away by his next words. "However, do not assume that we will be alone in our training. Anko Mitarashi will be joining us. I told her what I did to her in the forest and about marking her as one of my mates, and she took it well, so we will be learning about our powers together." The blue-haired girl pouts slightly at this news, however she quickly lets it go and says, "I understand, my lord. I would be honored to join you and your first mate in training." Naruto nods his head at this before he turns around and starts to walk away without a word. Kasumi, understanding what this means, quickly moves to fall into line with her lord and master, keeping only a few steps behind him as they make their way to the 44th training grounds, the Forest of Death. Gates to Training Ground 44. When they arrive at the gates to the Forest of Death, they find Anko standing there waiting for their arrival. Well, Naruto's at least. When the purplish black-haired woman sees Kasumi, she gains a confused look on her face and a questioning glint in her eyes. Naruto, seeing this, decides to cut her off at the pass. "Hello, Anko-chan, sorry for my lateness. I know that you must be wondering who this is with me. Well, allow me to introduce you to my servant Kasumi. She's a panther demoness. Kasumi, this is my maid Anko. She is half snake demon." The two women looks at each other warily. However, Kasumi quickly bows her head and says, "It is an honor to meet you, my lady." Anko scratches her head at this before she replies, "Yeah, nice to meet you too." She then turns to Naruto. "I am going to go out on a limb and say you turned her into a demon. We'll be discussing that later. For now, let's get to training." The redhead nods and the three proceed to enter the forest to begin their training. Hokage Tower Hiruzen Sarutobi has had a long night. An even longer start of the day. It all started last night with the deaths of 50 civilians. The crippling of 25 more, and the injuring of 25 of his shinobi. All of this done of course by the very 13-year-old demon lord that he just gave the Senju estate to last night after said boy burned down his apartment building. The deaths and crippling of the civilians had gotten the civilian council in an uproar, calling of course for Naruto's death. However, he quickly put a stop to that, telling them that the boy had a right to defend himself. Then his former teammates and now advisors tried to cause a stink over the injured shinobi. However, the god of shinobi merely told them that the shinobi should never have tried to attack the redhead in the first place. That ticked them off. However, his next words made their tempers really go through the roof. He told them that all 25 shinobi would be serving 2-month prison sentences, and then when they got out they would be demoted and placed on probation. After hearing that, the elders stormed out of his office saying he was too soft on the boy. Now here he sits taking on the enemy of all Kage and feudal lords. Paperwork. It's boring work, but someone has to do it, although I wish it wasn't me. Why can't one of my still loyal students take my place as Hokage and give this old man a break? Oh, that's right, Jiraiya is our spymaster and Tsunade is an unrepentant drunk and gambler. Sigh, times like this make me wish for a distraction. No sooner does the old monkey summoner think this that he gets his wish, as a breeze blows through the office, knocking filled out forms from his desk. Then he hears a deep voice that he knows well say, "Hey Sarutobi-sensei, how's things going?" The old Hokage turns around to look at the now open window and finds sitting inside of it a large man. The man has long, spiky, white hair that is tied in a ponytail down his back and reaches his waist, with 2 bangs at the front that are shoulder length. He has slightly tanned skin, his eyes are black, and he has red lines going down his cheeks from his eyes, and these extend all the way to his chin. On the left side of his nose is a noticeable wart, and around his forehead is a horned metal forehead protector with the kanji for oil in the center. He is tall, standing at 6 feet and 3 inches tall, and powerfully built, weighing 192 pounds. He wears a green short shirt, kimono and matching pants, under which he wears mesh armor that shows out of the sleeves and legs of his outfit. His outfit is topped off with handguards, a simple black belt, traditional Japanese getup, wooden sandals, which are red in color, a red haori with 2 simple yellow circles on each side over his kimono top, and a scroll on his back. This man is one of the old Mon's 3 students, and one of the 2 still loyal to the Leaf. He is Jiraiya of the Sannin, also known as the Toad Sage, Gamma Sennin, because of his affiliation with toads, as he is their primary and only summoner at the moment. Sarutobi scowls at the man he considers like a son before replying to his question. "I wish I could say everything was fine, Jiraiya, but that would be a lie." The white-haired man frowns at this. As he enters the office fully and closes the window, he proceeds to walk around to the front of his sensei's desk and take a seat before asking, "Why, what's wrong, sensei?" The old man sighs before answering, "Where do I begin? As you know, the Chunin exams are happening right now. That has brought a bunch of problems and issues. First, Sand, Cloud, and Waterfall each have Jinchuriki in the exams that have made it to the finals. Second, Oanoki sent his granddaughter to take part and she also is in the finals." The white-haired man whistles at this. "Wow, so not only do you now have 4 Jinchuriki, including Naruto, in the village, but also the granddaughter of your biggest rival is a Kage. I don't envy you, old man. But that doesn't seem that big a problem." Sarutobi shakes his head at this. "Well, if you would let me finish, then you'd see where the biggest problems are." Jiraiya chuckles while rubbing the back of his head and motioning the old man to continue. So he does. He tells him everything that's happened. From Orochimaru showing up during the second exam to mark Sasuke with the curse seal and then fighting with Anko and being scared off by someone else, all the way up to the fact that the Mon's godson Naruto is not really the son of his prized student and his wife, but in fact a real demon and the son of Kyuubi and another demon. He even reveals that the boy burned down his own apartment complex and was given the Senju estate to live in since Tsunade hasn't used it in over 20 years. The white-haired man sighs at all this information, as he scrubs his hand down his face before he says, "Well, I knew that Naruto wasn't actually Minato and Kushina's kid. Hell, I helped Minato with the seal to alter the kid's appearance, but I never would have suspected that he was a demonic child, and the son of the 9 tails at that." Sarutobi balks at this news as he says, "You knew all along and didn't say anything?" Jiraiya nods as he speaks again. "Yeah, because I promised Minato and Kushina I wouldn't. See, they were going to have a kid of their own, but Kushina miscarried 3 months in. It devastated her, made Minato sad too. Unfortunately, the miscarriage made her unable to ever conceive again, so they talked about adoption. Then one day, while she was taking a walk in the woods outside of Hot Springs Country, Kushina came across a red-haired baby boy all alone. She thought the kid had been abandoned as she couldn't sense anyone close by, so she decided to take the kid with her and talk to Minato about what to do with it. The old man nods at this information, as that sounds like something the red-headed kunoichi would do. Jiraiya continues his tale from there. Well, after discussing it, they decided to adopt him, so they brought him back here. But before they did, they ran into me, and that's when Minato asked me to help place a seal on him to make him look like them so everyone would think he was theirs. He made me the kid's godfather then and there and told me if anything ever happened to them to take care of him, something I've failed at. Sarutobi sighs at this before leveling his student with a glare. You should have told me all this the moment I took office again after the attack of the boy's real mother. However, what's done is done. Naruto now knows his true heritage and is adapting to it well. All you can do from here is try your best to help him as much as you can, as I have done all I could to help the boy through the years. Jiraiya nods at this before he rakes his hand through his spiky mane and says, well, all that aside, Sarutobi-sensei, I did come here for a reason. I've gotten information that an invasion is planned to happen here in the Leaf. At this information, the old man instantly straightens up and puts on his Hokage face and orders the man to explain, which he begins doing. Later that day at noon, Naruto calls an end to the group training for the day. Kasumi and Anko both are covered in sweat from training so hard, while Naruto is only mildly sweaty. The black-haired half-demon thanks the redhead for his help with getting a start on her powers before giving him a kiss on the cheek and telling him she'll see him tomorrow at the same time as she heads home to shower and change before starting her shift at T&I. Kasumi bows to her lord and master, thanking him for the chance to train with him. Before saying she's going to head back to her hotel to get a shower and change of clothes and then find something to eat, at hearing this he says, Kasumi, after you have finished eating, meet me in the clan district. There's no use in having a servant if she is not staying where I am. Therefore you will move into my new home with me so that you may better carry out your duties. However, before you come to the district, please purchase groceries for the house as it is bare of food. Hearing this makes her light up as she says, yes, Lord Naruto. Whatever you wish, as she proceeds to run off with a skip in her step. Naruto himself proceeds to cleanse himself with his demonic energy before leaving the training ground in search of food. As he walks by all of the training grounds on his way to the village, his hearing picks up the sounds of a scuffle and what sounds like a girl yelling. Still having a noble streak in himself, he proceeds in the direction of the noise, and after traveling for a few minutes he finds the source of all the noise. What he sees makes him seethe in rage, as he finds the team from Waterfall. However, they are not training. Instead he finds the girl, Fu, tied to the ground by ninja wire, a seal tag on her forehead, and her male teammates standing over her with evil looks on their faces. He moves closer so he can better hear what the boys are saying, and what he hears just makes him even angrier than he already is. The boy on the right who has brown hair sneers at the green-haired girl. You should have just done what you were told, demon bitch. If you had, things would have been so much simpler for you. But no, you had to do things the hard way and fight us. The other boy who has dark blue hair licks his lips as he says, now you'll have to suffer. It's our duty to teach a demon like you where your place is. It's too bad you won't be able to feel what we're about to do to you because of that seal. Oh well. Well, be sure to teach your body a lesson your mind won't soon forget. At this point, they move to tear off her clothes and rape her. However, Naruto has seen enough. The demon lord unleashes the full force of his demonic energy on the training grounds, the weight of it stopping the Waterfall genin in their tracks and bringing them to their knees as he walks out into view, his red eyes seemingly glowing with power. As he walks slowly towards the boys, in their mind's eyes they can see themselves dying horrible and gruesome deaths at the hands of this godlike being before them. Naruto stops 5 feet from the 3 Waterfall shinobi and speaks, you two are pieces of scum. Men such as you do not even deserve to breathe the same air as one such as myself, let alone that girl you have tied up there. That girl is your teammate, yet you treat her like she is below you, and when she goes against your ideals you try to put her into line by raping her. The venom in his voice is apparent to the boys, as they begin to shake in fear. He moves over to Fu and proceeds to remove the seal tag from her head. And as she begins to regain movement he asks her, since their crime is upon you, it is your decision how they are dealt with, holder of Chome. The green-haired girl glares at her teammates before she looks at the redhead and replies, do with them what you will. They aren't my teammates, merely my guards. My village hates me and they don't trust me not to run away when I am out of the village. These two are actually Chunin posing as genin. Naruto files that information away for later use before he cuts her bonds and then moves back over to the 2 young men, standing only a foot from them. How stupid humanity is, to believe that those who carry demons are themselves demons. A human who holds a demon is still a human. It's why they are called Jinchuriki, the power of human sacrifice, for they use their own life forces to hold back the monsters. For your crimes there is only one punishment, death. With this declaration he plunges his clawed hands straight through their chests into their hearts and rips them out. The 2 fall down dead, looks of horror upon their faces. Naruto reigns in his demonic energy as he tosses the hearts on top on the bodies, then summons his red foxfire and sets them ablaze. Seeing that this training ground has a stream, he goes over and washes his hands of the blood. As Fu comes over and speaks to him, "Thank you for saving me back there. Your name is Naruto, right?" The redhead nods at this as she continues on. "So you know about what I am, huh? Why don't you fear me like my village does?" Naruto turns to her and replies, "I do not fear you because unlike you I actually am a demon. That's on to of having my own mother sealed inside of me. I believe Chome might know her, the nine-tailed fox." At this news the green-haired girl hears her prisoner, partner buzzing in her head, telling her she needs to get close to the boy because he's pure-blooded, whatever that means to her. At seeing her face scrunch up in confusion he chuckles as he says, "Let me guess, Chome is telling you a bunch of stuff you don't understand." At this she nods, so he continues, "Let me make it easy for you. Chome, just like all the other tailed beasts, are not masses of chakra like these shinobi believe. They are in fact actual demons. Greater demons in fact, are Daiyokai. I myself am a Daiyokai, pure-blooded, meaning born of two Daiyokai, in my case the nine-tailed fox and a powerful dog demon." Fu nods along to this, as she understood that explanation, and a light bulb goes on over her head. So can a human being become a demon at all? The redhead nods his head and responds, "Actually they can, though the methods are far in between, and most who try only end up as half-demons, still retaining some of their humanity." Seeing the look of slight disappointment on her face, he comes to the realization that she wants to be an actual demon and voices this. Fu looks down at his question but answers, "Yeah, I kind of do want to be an actual demon. My village sees me as Chome already, and I am sure other villages will see me as the same if they find out what I am." Naruto sighs, seeing how badly another Jinchuriki has been treated by humanity, and so he comes to a decision. Placing his hand on her shoulder he says, "What if I could make your wish come true? What if I had a way to transform you into an actual demon, and more than that, a bug demon like Chome?" This makes the green-haired girl's face light up in excitement as she asks, How? He chuckles at the enthusiasm of the 14-year-old, before he answers, "Well, you see these swords at my waist?" At this the girl looks down to his waist and sees the 3 blades resting comfortably and nods, so he continues, "Well, the second blade amongst the 3 is the most special one of them. It is called Tenseiga and has power over life and death." At this Fu's eyes widen and her mouth hangs open in an O shape, however she quickly shakes this off. She proceeds to ask, "That's cool and all, but how is it going to help me become a demon?" Naruto sighs at her impatience before answering, "With the Tenseiga I can do many things, such as heal not only myself but also 100 people with a single swing of its blade. It can also save people from death by cutting down the pall-bearers of the underworld. It also has the power to cut souls, and that's the power I would use to turn you into a demoness, by cutting your soul and combining it with the soul of a demon." At this her eyes gain a look of understanding. However, before she can voice her next question, she nods her head and her eyes blank out. Soon they begin glowing orange and another voice comes from her mouth, "Son of my sister Karami, allow me a request if you please?" Hearing the distinctly feminine demonic voice he deduces that it's Chome speaking now and nods his head to let her know he's listening. So she continues on, "If you wish to transform Fu-chan into a demoness through the use of soul stitching, then I beseech you to use the soul of my departed daughter, Chome. I loved my daughter and have missed her every day since her death, and Fu reminds me of her in so many ways. It is why I have partnered with her and even given her command of the demon beetles. Please grant this old bug's request." The red-haired demon lord considers it for a moment before nodding his head and replying, "I will do as you wish, Lady Chome. I will cut Fu with Tenseiga and stitch together her soul with that of Chome. They shall become as one. However, there is a price to this, one that I was going to tell Fu herself. For the service of turning her into a demoness she must become one of my mates. This price is non-debatable, as I can trust only my mates to keep my secrets." Fu, Chome is quiet for a few moments before the demoness speaks again. "I have conferred with Fu-chan about your price, and she has agreed to it, on the condition that you find a way to release me from her body someday." Naruto nods to this, "That is fair. After all, I already plan on releasing all of the tailed demons from their hosts anyway." With that the demoness gives her thanks before receding back into her seal and giving control back to Fu. The green-haired girl smiles at him and says, "Well, I am ready. Make me a demon." Naruto shakes his head at this, which makes her pout before he says, "Not right this moment. I was on my way to get some lunch when I heard your plight, and I am still hungry. Why don't you join me for lunch, and then after I'll do the soul stitching and we can train together for the rest of the day." At the offer of food the green-haired Kunoichi smiles brightly and jumps for joy, quickly agreeing to go with him to eat, and so the two leave the training grounds and head into the village proper. After eating a delicious lunch at one of the Akamichi barbecue restaurants, which was free because Choji was there and said their food was on him, The two returned to Fu's training ground. Naruto proceeded to do the soul stitching, which caused Fu to change a little. She grew a couple of inches in height, her bust increased by 2 cup sizes, her mint green hair changed to a more forest green and got longer, but the most startling change was in her clothes. For some reason they changed from the shorts and midriff-bearing shirt, into a long-sleeved gray kimono top with images of beetles all over it, and a gray skirt that goes halfway down her thighs, also with beetles on it. After getting over her new look, she allowed Naruto to mark her with his mate mark. The rest of that afternoon was spent with the two training, helping the girl get used to her new demonic powers, and getting to know one another a little better. They parted ways at dinner time, with Naruto heading back to his new estate and Fu going back to her hotel. The redhead arrived to the clan district to find Kasumi waiting for as ordered, so he led her to the estate, showed her around, and told her to make dinner while he showered. That night dinner was spent in comfortable silence and the two went to bed in separate rooms thinking about what the next month would bring. 2 weeks later, 2 weeks have passed since the preliminary rounds of the final phase of the Chunin exams has ended. In that 2 weeks all the competitors who have made it to the finals have been training their hearts out, each one learning new techniques, and devising methods to defeat the other competitors in the exam, but none have trained harder than Naruto Yoko Inataisho. The red-haired demon lord has been taking his body, mind, spirit, and demonic powers to the absolute limits in preparation, not for the tournament, but for the coming invasion. Now you might ask how the 13-year-old knows about the planned invasion of Sand and Sound. And many would think that Jiraiya told him about it, being the boy's godfather, but they would be wrong. No, his knowledge of the invasion comes from Gaia and her sister Tamari, as he spent some time with them, training with Gaia, and flirting, messing with Tamari. Oh, Naruto knows about the perverted Sannin being his godfather. The man found him and spoke to him the day after he turned Fu into a demoness, revealing that all the money he's gotten for years had come from him. The redhead thanked him for the financial support, then immediately sent him flying into the woman's side of the hot spring they were talking outside of with a kick. This got the white-haired man beaten up by feminine fury, as Naruto just stood on top of a building not too far away and laughed. After this though, the two powerful men reconciled and Jiraiya even treated him to eat shiraku, then offered to help him train, which, sensing how powerful the man was, the teen accepted, and they've been training together since, out near a ravine. But he has not neglected his training with Anko and Kasumi. In fact, he still trains with them every afternoon and on the weekends. Only now there's a third person involved, and that person is Fu. Over the past 2 weeks he and the girls have made leaps and bounds with their demonic powers. Anko has learned how to shed her skin like a snake to heal her wounds, unlike her former sensei who regurgitates a new body to heal, as well as how to mentally control the normal snakes in the forest as well as a good deal of her summoned snakes. She still has problems with creating poisons in her body though. Also in the last 2 weeks she and Naruto have gone out on dates, and she's even spent nights at the estate, though they still haven't had sex. Kasumi has had the most improvement in the last 2 weeks. The blue-haired demoness can now freeze an entire lake with her icy aura. She has also learned to shoot waves of ice and cold from her hands just as Toran used to, and also figured out how to summon her predecessor's ice lance that freezes everything it touches. Besides that, her speed, strength, and demonic energy has increased, and Naruto has said she's strong enough now that she could probably take on hordes of lower-level demons with ease, but still not strong enough to take on even the weakest Daiokai. Kasumi has also been serving her lord well, keeping the estate spotless, cooking his meals, drawing baths for him once a week, and even seeing to his sexual needs until his mates are ready to do so themselves, although she sometimes finds herself wishing that Lord Naruto would see her as more than just a servant, but always quickly shakes those thoughts off. Fu, who started training with the group the day after the incident with her teammates, has also made pretty good strides in her new powers and abilities. Over the last 2 weeks, with help from both Naruto and Chome, she has been learning all about being a Daiokai. She's learned that as a bug Daiokai she has absolute command and control over all species of beetle, especially her demon beetles. She's also found out she can sprout actual wings and fly, as well as hardening her skin and making it act like armor, though she still has yet to try to take her full demon form, but that's to be expected. After all, according to Chome, Fu's full demon form is pretty much exactly like how she herself usually looks. Naruto himself has gotten a much better handle on his abilities from both his mother and father. On his father's side of his powers, he has done a great deal of work on perfecting his toxic claws, as well as the toxic whip. He's also discovered that aside from his inherited toxin powers from his father, he himself has the ability to coat his claws in demonic winds. With the powers from his mother he's learned much better control of foxfire, able to summon up green, yellow, orange, and red flames with ease. while still having problems with summoning golden and blue flames and still being light years away from making purple foxfire. He also found that he can do transformations into other people very easily. Starting with turning into his mutt uncle Inuyasha and doing a hilarious impression of him. With helpful tips from his mother, that had the girls in stitches of laughter, then he learned how to cast illusions, which he's used on Jiraiya, placing the pervert in an illusion of being surrounded by naked men coming on to him once or twice, which both times sent the pervert running and screaming like a little girl. He also found that as a kitsune he has the ability to control plant life, but only to a small degree at the moment. He learned from his mother that as he gets older he'll gain more tails, and that when he reaches 9 like herself he will gain the powers of elemental aura, space-time manipulation, spirit physiology, and disaster manipulation. When asked what most of that was she said she'd explain some other time. All in all his training has been going very well. Today finds Naruto and Jiraiya training taijutsu again. Trading blows back and forth, Jiraiya utilizing the toad-style taijutsu, while Naruto is using a style his mother has been teaching him every night in the mindscape, called Fox Fist, which relies on feints and trickery to get the upper hand on the opponent, and launch fast and powerful strikes to vital areas, while utilizing the natural flexibility that all kitsune have to dodge. When asked why she wouldn't teach him his father's style, she told him Sesshomaru never had a solid fighting style, mostly relying on his great reflexes, strength, and claws for hand-to-hand fighting, something he and Inuyasha had in common. Naruto goes for a solid punch to the older man's face. However, the more experienced man puts his left arm up just in time to block. However, he's sent skidding back 25 feet from the force of the blow. When he stops he can feel a dull ache in his arm as he shakes it. Damn, the kid is strong. That blow was like one of Tsunade's super punches. If I hadn't encased my arm in chakra before blocking it would be broken. To think this is only him using 50% of his pure physical strength. I shudder at what a true powerhouse he's going to be when he reaches adulthood. The white-haired man sighs before shifting out of his stance and says, "Alright Naruto, I think that's enough for today. We've sparring since 8 and now it's 11. Take a break, and while you're at it take a bath, you smell like wet dog. There's a river not far from here with a waterfall, go and use it." The red-haired teen scowls at his godfather before replying, "I do not smell like wet dog. The only member of my family who has ever smelled like that was my idiot uncle Inuyasha whenever he got wet. However, I will go and check out this waterfall you speak of and get cleaned up before going for lunch. Do me a favor and try to keep your perversion in check while we're apart, Ero Sennin." With that Naruto turns and walks away, leaving Jiraiya to first chuckle at the comment about Inuyasha, then to grumble about being called Ero Sennin and kids today having no respect. The redhead very quickly makes it to the river that the older man was speaking of, and true to his word there is a magnificent waterfall flowing down from an outcropping of rock. A familiar scent fills his nose. It's Sasuke's scent, so he begins to look around for his male teammate. However, not finding him anywhere, he just assumes the boy is training somewhere nearby. Shaking it off, he proceeds to take off his clothes, folding them up in a neat pile at the shoreline. Then he enters the cold water and begins to wade towards the waterfall, never noticing the other pile of clothes on the opposite shore. When he reaches the falls he steps underneath them and lets the water wash over his body, matting his hair to his head, and enjoying the feeling as the day's sweat and grime is washed away. As he is running his hands through his wet hair, basically washing it, he hears a splash from behind him, so he turns around and through the water of the falls sees the outline of another person. And the body shape is definitely feminine. The other person has their backs turned to him, so they can't see him staring at them. The girl in question is about 13 years old, with a low C-cup bust size, in the beginning states of developing an hourglass figure, with nice-sized hips, and a taut stomach. She has long bluish-black hair, which frames her pretty face, though Naruto can't see this. The redhead steps out of the falls, the sound causing the girl to spin around as fast as she can in the water. And when she sees who has snuck up on her, her eyes widen. Naruto in the meantime is finally able to get a whiff of the girl's scent and finds it's familiar, smelling almost like Sasuke's, only with wild flowers and a hint of jasmine thrown it. As he racks his brain to figure out why, he remembers smelling Sasuke nearby before getting in the water, and the fact this girl smells like him but also distinctly feminine. He quickly realizes that the girl is Sasuke. He begins to laugh at this. First it's a chuckle and then it becomes a full belly laugh. The girl seeing this is at first confused, and then angry and demands, "What is so damn funny, Dobi?" Naruto stops laughing before he responds, "Yep, you're definitely Sasuke. Oh, this is rich. To think that this entire time the most desirable guy in the academy was actually a girl." He begins to laugh again at it. However, it quickly dies down and he gets a good look at her. Seeing that her skin is paler than Sasuke's, and she has a heart-shaped face, in fact she reminds him of her mother Makoto. He runs his hands through his hair and asks, "So what's your real name then? Because I am sure that your parents didn't name their daughter Sasuke." The black-haired girl sighs before she answers, "Satsuki. That's my real name. Look, you have to keep this a secret, do, Naruto, please. There's a reason why I've pretended to be a boy all this time." The redhead places a hand to his chin and looks like he's thinking, "Satsuki, huh? Good name, strong, and very beautiful, just like the one who bears it, even though she's a bit of a bitch. I can guess why you pretended to be a boy, probably has to do with the Leaf Council, which by the way is a stupid concept. I mean, what kind of ruler needs the help of a council? Anyway, am I right?" At first the girl blushes at his compliment about her looks, but then gains a tick mark at being called a bitch, before becoming shocked that he guessed her reason correctly, all the way to confusion at the council comment. She nods her head, "Yeah, that's right. If the council found out I was a girl, they would try to use me as breeding stock to repopulate the village with little Uchiha babies. I would have no choice in the fathers, and be no better than a sex object, and I refuse to be that, so I've taken the name Sasuke. I bind my breasts, put a transformation over my face and hair, and wear baggy clothes to hide my figure." Naruto nods his head slightly at this, before looking at the spot between her neck and shoulder on the left side and sees the curse seal, only it has another seal around it, circular in nature. He scowls at the mark and asks, "Does that seal work? To keep the tainted power of Orochimaru from corrupting you, I mean?" Satsuki reflectively grabs the mark with her right hand, and growls out a response, "Stupid Hokage and Kakashi-sensei, wanting to keep the only thing that could give me the power I need to kill Itachi sealed up. According to Pervert Sensei, the evil sealing method relies on my own willpower." The redhead clicks his tongue at this before he says, "If you want power to kill your brother, then that curse seal is not the way to get it. Inside of that seal is a part of Orochimaru's soul, mixed in with some demonic power from a snake demon. The soul piece works to warp your mind, bend your will to Orochimaru's own, while the demonic power makes you stronger, but causes you to become addicted to that power and crave more and more, until it consumes you completely, mind, body, and soul. Are you really willing to give your very soul for the power to kill Itachi?" The black-haired girl takes her hand from the mark and glares at the taller redhead, activating her Sharingan in the process, and replies, "I don't care what it costs me. My revenge is all I have left. Itachi slaughtered our family, including my mother, and he must pay. Besides, I am an Uchiha, an elite. No silly soul piece or evil power will destroy my mind and soul. My hatred is too strong." Naruto hums at this before deciding to burst her bubble. "I hate to tell you, little Satsuki, but the power gained from that curse seal will not be nearly enough to give you your revenge. Orochimaru didn't give it to you to help with your vengeance. He gave it to you so that he could lure you to him and use you like he does everyone who serves under him." The tome in her eyes begin to spin dangerously, however he is not concerned with it and continues, "If you want true power, then there is only one being in this world that can give it to you. And that is me." Her eyes widen in shock at this as he keeps talking. "I can give you power, Satsuki. More power than even Orochimaru could imagine. I am a demon lord. My power far exceeds the snake summoners. I can kill hundreds in one stroke with 2 of my blades. I can also revive 100 people from death with a third of my swords, as well as destroy the boundaries between life and death, calling back the souls of powerful demons and holy people. Hell, I can use my very demonic power to transform you into a half-demon if I so choose. I already have with Anko." He then gets really close to her and places his mouth right next to her ear. "I used her curse mark to change her into a half-snake demoness. I can use yours to do the same to you." She shudders at his breath upon her skin. As he backs away and turns to head back to the shoreline where his clothes are, she decides to ask, "Can you really do all that, Dobi?" He stops, nods his head, and replies, "Yes, I can and have. Already I have made 2 women into full-fledged demons with my Tenseiga. I can do the same for you. Consider it an offer, to help you in your revenge. Think on it and let me know. You can find me either at the Senju estate, the ravine near here, or the Forest of Death when you're ready." Satsuki is silent, looking down at her reflection in the water. As Naruto gets out of the water, dresses and leaves, Satsuki spends another 20 minuets standing in the water thinking over her teammates' words, before she finally shakes it off, walks over to the opposite shore as where the redhead went. She binds her breasts with her chest wraps, puts on her clothes, reapplies her transformation and heads back towards the village. A week later finds Naruto outside of the village. At a large valley, the place is a large waterfall, and on either side of the falls is a statue. To the left of the falls on the land of Fireside stands a statue of the first Hokage Hashirama Senju, who is facing towards the other statue. On the right side, The Land of Rice side of the boundary line is a statue of Madara Uchiha, the co-founder of the Leaf, former head of the Uchiha clan, and the Leaf's greatest traitor. This is called the Valley of the End. It is the site of the final battle between Hashirama and Madara, and believed to be the place where the elder Uchiha breathed his last breath. The reason for the redhead's visit to this place today is simple. For a long time now he has been wanting to transform into his true demon form. To see how it feels and see just how powerful he really is, he proceeds to jump down to the river below the statues, using his powers to stand on top of the water, extending his senses to make sure no one else is around, and confirming that he's alone. He takes a deep breath, before releasing it, and then he begins to let his demonic power out. It begins to swirl around him, his claws lengthen, his teeth begin getting sharper, with his canines extending over his lips, and his marks on his face broaden. He opens his eyes to show that the whites have become red, and the irises have turned blue. He begins to morph, his face begins elongating, his body begins to grow, and soon his human form is gone and standing in its place is a giant foxdog. He stands at 30 feet tall, with dark red fur, powerful legs which have tufts of fur around the ankles. His body is sleek, and the two furs he wears in his human form are wrapped around his body going towards his tails. That's another thing. Swinging around behind him are 3 sleek tails, with silver tips. His face markings can still be seen on his face, and the crescent moon mark still rests in the center of his head. All in all he looks powerful and intimidating. Kurama's voice rings out in his head. Good job Sochi, your first full transformation. I am so proud of you. Also I must say you are absolutely gorgeous. You have so many similarities to me and your father. Your form is a perfect blend. Though you lean more towards your dog side, your fur is the same color as mine and you already have 3 tails. No mother could be prouder. The fox dog howls to the sky in pride, and when he does he releases a jet of flames from his mouth. He decides to see what this form can do and so he starts to play around with it, running down the river, trying to find his top speed. As the scenery passes by him faster and faster, after a few minuets he stops running, as he looks up to the sky and makes the decision to see if he can still fly in this form just like his father, grandfather, and grandmother, and so he crouches to the ground, before leaping into the air, exiting the canyon. To his great joy he begins to glide along the air, proving that he can in fact fly like his family. So he flies up high, where no one will see him, and heads back towards the Leaf, deciding to give the people a bit of a scare. When he reaches the village he begins to descend towards the ground, wanting to land just outside the gates. Soon enough the civilians and ninja see his demonic form coming down from the sky, and he can hear the civilians screaming in fear, while the shinobi attempt to mobilize and defend the village. He just chuckles, which sounds like a deep growl, as he finally lands outside the gates. A moment later multiple Anbu, Jonin, and Chunin appear on the wall, preparing to fight. As they begin to draw out weapons and go through hand seals he decides to end his fun, and his form is suddenly wreathed in demonic energy, as he begins to shrink, and then takes his human form once again, shocking all the ninja and some of the civilians who had been brave enough to come see the commotion. Seeing the gob-smacked looks on the faces of all those who aren't wearing masks he begins to laugh. Ha 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 ha. Oh you should see your faces, this is hilarious. Ha 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 ha. Sarutobi then appears in his full battle gear, having heard about a 3-tailed demon being outside the gates, but when he sees no demon only Naruto, who is laughing, and the looks of anger on the faces of his shinobi he quickly realizes what happened and sighs. He addressed the shinobi first. Stand down everyone. Return to your posts, and go back to what you were doing. The ninja follow their leader's orders and disappear. He then turns to the redhead shaking his head. While I am happy to see that you're still a prankster Naruto-kun. Did you have to scare everyone by coming in your demon form? The red-headed demon lord stops laughing as he looks at the third Hokage and answers, I just couldn't resist giving the fools a scare. Besides I am half fox. Pranking is in my blood. The old man just shakes his head in exasperation. Be that as it may, your little joke is going to cause me all kinds of headaches with the civilian council, not to mention a whole mess of paperwork. Naruto chuckles some more at this before dropping a bombshell on Sarutobi. I don't see what the big deal with paperwork is. I mean all you have to do is use the shadow clone jutsu to do it all. After all everything the clones do and learn you get the knowledge of when they pop. The head of the Sarutobi clan goes wide-eyed at this before walking over to a nearby tree and beginning to bang his head against it chanting stupid over and over again. The redhead looks a bit concerned and asks, are you alright old man? Hiruzen turns towards the boy with a smile and replies, thank you Naruto-kun you have just saved this old man a lot of trouble. To think they call me the professor and yet I'd forgotten the secret of the shadow clones for all this time. Speaking of which how do you know about the memory transfer ability? The two walk back into the village together and start heading towards the Hokage tower as Naruto begins to explain. He tells the old man that after his transformation into his true self he began to go back in his memories and realized that every time one of his clones popped he got their memories, but at the time he was so dumb he just wrote it off as a trick of his mind. Sarutobi understands where he would have thought that, considering how much the teachers at the academy as well as the civilian council tried to limit his intelligence and power. When they reach the tower, finally the redhead says, "Well, it was nice talking to you, old man, but I should grab some lunch then get back to training. You should probably start training again yourself, so you can be ready for the invasion." The old man is shocked by his knowledge of the coming invasion but shakes it off as nothing about the boy is surprising him anymore, but as the teen goes to walk away he says, "Thank you for the advice, Naruto-kun. By the way, the clan heads want to have words with you about their demonic ancestors, especially the Inuzuka clan. Do try and speak to each of them before the finals." Naruto nods his head and leaves. As he makes his way through the village in search of something to eat he hears someone call out, "Hey Naruto." Recognizing the voice to be Sasuke's, he turns around and finds him standing down the road and responds, "What can I do for you, Sasuke?" The dark-haired boy motions with his head, "Follow me back to my place, we need to talk." The redhead smirks and nods his head, proceeding to follow his teammate to the Uchiha district. When they reach the main house and the door closes behind Naruto, Satsuki drops her transformation and looks at her teammate nervously. "I've never invited anyone over here before. Take a seat in the living room and I'll prepare us some tea." Naruto hums in response before doing as she said and heading to the living room to take a seat. When he enters said room he finds it filled with plush leather furniture, so he takes a seat on one of the couches. After waiting for a few minutes, Satsuki enters with a tray carrying a teapot and 2 cups. She proceeds to set the tray on the table, and expertly pours the tea into the 2 cups, handing one to him and taking the other for herself. The two 13-year-olds sit and sip their tea in silence. Eventually, however, Satsuki breaks it. "I accept." Naruto looks at her with an eyebrow raised in question, so she continues, "Your offer to give me the power to destroy my brother. I accept. I want you to transform me into a full demon, though not a half demon, and I don't want to be a snake demon. I'd rather be something dealing with fire." The redhead chuckles at this as he replies, "Well then, I shall give you what you wish. However, there is a bit of a price for the power you seek." Satsuki looks at him with a deadpan look. "Isn't there always? What's your price?" Naruto smirks at this before answering, "Oh, nothing too major. The price for using Tenseiga to turn you into a demon is that you must become one of my mates. Basically, you would be one of my multiple wives, requiring you to keep my secrets, be by my side through any and everything, and do the relational duties of all wives, though that last one can wait until you feel ready. So do you still want the power I offer?" The dark-haired teen's eyes widen at this, as she realizes she'd basically have to promise herself to her formerly bone-headed teammate. As she thinks about it, Naruto says, "One more thing. Did I mention that by accepting my price you will no longer have to pretend to be a boy? As my mate, if the council even dared to try and touch you, I would destroy them with my Tokijin." This fills the Uchiha heiress with a feeling of gratitude that he would be that protective of her, a feeling that she hasn't felt since the death of her mother. The girl finally makes her decision. "Fine, I accept your conditions, but what will happen to the curse seal when you change me?" The red-haired demon lord drinks the rest of his tea before giving his answer. "Before changing you, I will bite into the mark and course my yoki or demonic energy into it. This will destroy the soul fragment of Orochimaru as well as get rid of the snake demon's energy. It will also change the mark from a curse seal to a mate mark, letting all who see it know that you belong to me." Satsuki just nods dumbly at this. "Okay, then let's do this." She then proceeds to pull the left shoulder of her shirt down to expose the mark. However, Naruto begins to laugh, confusing her, until he explains, "You think we're going to do this today? No. The process will be done after the finals. The process of turning you into a demon is simple, but getting used to your new demonic physiology and powers is not. It takes time and practice, and time is something we do not have at the moment with only a week left till the finals, so you will have to wait a while longer, Satsuki-chan." The girl blushes at the use of chan at the end of her name but quickly shakes it off as she concedes that he's right about the time constraints they're under right now. She sighs before speaking again, "Alright, fine, but I want to get this done and over with the day after the finals end." He nods at this as he stands up and says, "Alright then, the day after finals we'll meet here and turn you into a demoness. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to get going. I have to get something to eat and then I have a training session with some people. Give Kakashi my regards next time you see him." She nods in acceptance and he leaves her in her house alone, as she usually is. She spends the rest of the day, and into the night thinking about what's to come in just a little over a week from now. Just you wait, Itachi. Soon I'll be a demon and have the power I need to kill you and take vengeance for our clan. But before I kill you I'll find out just why you killed our clan, and then, only then, will I finally end your life. That night she dreams of summoning up demonic flames and burning her brother alive. After another 2 days of intense training with both Jiraiya, who has been not only helping him perfect his hand-to-hand fighting but also teaching him fuinjutsu, and the girls, Naruto finally decides it's time to go meet with each of the clan heads individually. He decides to start with the most pompous one first, that being Hiyashi Hyuga, and so at this moment he can be found outside the gates to the Hyuga compound, being barred entry by 2 Hyuga guards. The redhead begins to get impatient with the 2 men's incessant chattering about him not being allowed inside, and as he prepares to cast an illusion on them they are saved by the very man he came to see. Hiyashi comes walking up with his 2 daughters and asks, "What is going on here?" The 2 men take a knee and bow their heads before responding, "Lord Hiyashi, sir. This demon claims that he has need to speak with you, but his name is not on our list of approved visitors." The head of the Hyuga clan closes his eyes and hums at this as he unleashes his ki on the 2 men. "The boy is here by my request. He is my guest and you are holding him up. That reflects badly on me when you 2 deny my guest's entry." The 2 obvious branch house members beg his forgiveness. He just sighs and says, "Enough. You will be punished for your mistake later. Lord Inataisho, please come with my daughters and I." The redhead just nods his head as he walks past the 2 guards, and follows the Hyuga family back to the main house. On the way he begins speaking with Hinata. "How are you feeling, Hinata-chan? Is your heart all healed up?" The blue-haired heiress blushes at his attention but answers, "I am doing okay Naruto-kun. My heart is good. The doctors say that it's good enough that I can attend the finals and watch the fights, but I still can't train for a while longer." Naruto lets out a sigh of relief at this. "I see. Well, it's good that your health is much better than it was when last I visited you in the hospital." The girl nods in thanks, as Hiyashi just listens to the interaction between his eldest and the demon lord. When they reach the main house the Hyuga lord turns to his girls, "Hinata, Hanabi, I must ask you both to go and do what you will. Lord Inataisho and I have some private business to discuss." Both girls bow to him and reply in unison, "Yes to Sama," as Hanabi bows to Naruto and Hinata smiles shyly at him before they leave. The man leads the redhead to his office, and once the door closes behind the demon lord, he activates a privacy seal, takes a seat behind his desk and folds his hands together. Naruto closes his eyes, having expected this, "So I take it that this meeting is to do with your demonic ancestor?" The Hyuga head nods, "Yes, after going through our family's records over 1,000 years I finally found what I was searching for. It seems you were correct. The Hyuga clan is descended from a demon, in this case an eagle demon, so I feel I must apologize for my words in the council chamber about you being a liar." The redhead just shakes his head in response, "No need to apologize Hiyashi-san. If I were in your position and someone who is hated and scorned by the village told me that I came from a demon down the line, I would have reacted similarly. May I see the record of which you speak?" The brown-haired man takes a document out of his desk and slides it across to the teen lord. Naruto picks up the old scroll and proceeds to read it, silently asking his mother if she recognizes the name of the demon upon the paper, and getting a negative. After a few minuets he hands the scroll back to Hiyashi, and the man asks, "So is Haruta familiar to you Naruto-san?" The redhead shakes his head as he answers the question. "No he is not, nor is he familiar to Ka-sama. It seems that he was just a common eagle demon who mated with a human woman and created the first Hyuga who was half demon." The man scowls at this before putting on his usual Hyuga face and speaking once more, "Well, be that as it may, it seems that Horuta's common demon blood gave my clan the strongest bloodline in the nations. It has gotten me wondering how much more powerful the Byakugan would be if some fresh, more powerful, demon blood was added to it." Naruto quirks an eyebrow at this as he voices his opinion. Interesting question. I would think that fresh blood would increase your bloodline's power by a magnitude of anywhere from 2 to 10 times depending on the kind of demon blood added." Hiyashi smirks slightly at this. "Exactly my thoughts, which is why I would like to formally offer you Lord Naruto Yoko Inataisho, the hands of both of my daughters in marriage." Naruto's eyebrows really raise at this. He was not expecting the man before him to make such an offer. Not that the ideal doesn't appeal to him. Hinata is already a beautiful young lady and will only get more so as she gets older, plus she's so kind-hearted and sweet, she reminds him of Sesshomaru's first mate Rin. As for Hanabi, he finds her kind of cute, in a childish sort of way, and has no doubt that as she gets older she'll almost as beautiful as her elder sister, but to have them both suddenly offered to him by their father has him asking, why? Why would you decide for your daughters who they will spend the rest of their lives with? Now I have no issues with you offering Hinata to me. The girl already has deep affections for me, and I am certain that the more I get to know her that I will develop the same feelings for her. The man smiles at this, believing he'll accept his offer. As the teen continues, but Hanabi, she does not even know me. Nor does she like me in that manner, she is also still very young yet. Only 7 years old, she should have the same opportunity as her sister to find someone to fall in love with and marry them. Hiyashi frowns at this as he responds, "It is not that simple, Naruto-san. You see, if you do not accept both my daughter's hands, then the one you reject, be it Hanabi, will be forced into an arranged marriage with a strong male of the clan in order to continue the Hyuga main line, so you see, by accepting my offer of both my daughters you will be saving them from loveless relationships." The redhead sighs in exasperation at this, but nods his head. "Very well, I will accept your offer, however it will be your responsibility to inform your daughters of this, Lord Hyuga. If you will excuse me, I have meetings with the other clan heads, my next stop from here in the Nara compound." The brown-haired man nods in acceptance and bids him goodbye. As he walks back towards the gates, he sees the Hyuga sisters sitting together in a beautiful garden, having tea and talking. When they notice him he waves to them, getting shy waves back and then moving on. Nara compound. 15 minuets later he finds himself standing outside of the Nara compound. The guards here are a bit more helpful and let him through. He makes his way to the main Nara house. He knocks on the door and it is answered by a pretty middle-aged woman. "Yes, can I help you?" Naruto nods slightly as he answers, "Yes, I am here to meet with Shikaku Nara. I believe he is expecting me. I am Lord Naruto Yoko Inataisho." The woman's face brightens slightly at this. "Ah, so you're the Naruto that Shikamaru was always talking about." "I am Yoshino Nara, Shikamaru's mother and Shikaku's wife. Please come in, young man." The redhead does as she asks, and comes in, removing his boots at the front door, as she begins to lead him through the house saying, "Shikaku is in his office with Inoichi Yamanaka and Choza Akamichi at the moment. The three get together once a week to play shogi, drink sake, and go over interclan business." The demon lord nods at this, thinking it to be a good idea considering how close the three clans are. But something occurs to him and he asks, "What about Shikamaru, Choji, and Ino? Are they all here as well?" The brown-haired woman shakes her head. "No, the three of them are off doing other things. I believe Shikamaru and Choji are somewhere in the village watching clouds and eating, while Ino is tending her family's flower shop." The teen accepts this as they stop outside a shoji door. Yoshino turns to him, smiles and bows. "Well, this is it. It was nice to meet you, Naruto. I understand you're in the first match in the finals with the Hyuga prodigy. I wish you luck. I'll be in the stands watching the matches. Do your best." With that she turns and walks back the way they came. He chuckles, not understanding why Shikamaru complains so much about her, but he quickly schools his features and opens the sliding door. The three men inside turn in surprise to see the demon lord standing there. However, Shikaku, who looks almost exactly like his son just older, with a small goatee, and a scar over his eye, greets him. "Ah, Naruto-san, you made it. Welcome, come inside." The redhead inclines his head and steps into the room, closing the door behind himself, and as he does Shikaku goes through hand seals and activates a privacy seal. Naruto chuckles openly at this, gaining confused looks from the three clan heads before he lets them in on the joke. "It seems you clan heads are a very cautious sort. This is the second of these meetings I've had in the last hour, the first with Hiyashi Hyuga, and he'd activated a privacy seal as soon as we were in his office." The three veteran shinobi chuckle at this, agreeing that he is correct, as Inoichi says, "Well, Naruto-san, as the leader of a clan you can never be too careful about your clan's secrets getting out. The subject matter this meeting is about is very delicate and we wouldn't want any nasty parasites to overhear it." Naruto understands what he's saying, that they don't want to take the chance a spy for either Danzo or the civilian council is listening in so they can use the information for blackmail. The demon lord takes a seat, and extends his hands. "I take it you found the documents you were all looking for that proved my words. If I may take a look, perhaps I may be able to shed some light on your demonic ancestors, although I wouldn't hold out hope. Already I have been unable to tell Lord Hyuga anything about his eagle demon ancestor Haruta." The three men blink at this, but accept his offer nonetheless, as they hand him their own very old scrolls. He looks them over, finding the names and types of demons that the ancestors were. Again speaking to his mother about it in his mind, only this time she knows who the three named demons are and give him the info on them. He hands the scrolls back to the three men and says, "Well, you're in luck, gentlemen. It seems Ka-sama knew of all three of your ancestors. For the Akamichi clan there is Rondo, a size-changing spider demon, able to change his size at will, growing as big as a small mountain, or as small as a flea demon." At this Choza smiles slightly, knowing that his family inherited a grand power. The redhead continues on. "Next is Kurumi, the ancestor of the Yamanaka. She was an illusion demoness, with great power over the minds of those weaker than herself. said to be one of the most beautiful demoness. Also my mother wished to kill her at one point because their names are so similar. At this Inoichi smirks as he realizes that although his ancestor is a woman she wasn't any weaker than his friend's ancestors, but sweat drops at the boy's mother's attitude. As Naruto finishes up his explanation, lastly is Tsuruchimu the shadow demon. Ancestor of the Nara clan, who could control not only his shadow but the shadows of others, using them to create weapons, shadow monsters, and even teleport. Together the three were known as the Demon Trinity. According to Ka-sama they worked closely together, fighting off many demons side by side, even managing to injure but not kill a Daiokai. Rondo was the muscle, Kurumi the distraction, and Tsuruchimu the brains. It seems your families have always been intertwined. The three men all smile at each other at this news, and then Choza asks, but where does the Sarutobi clan come in? For generations the members of our three clans have gone under the tutelage of members of the Sarutobi clan. Were our ancestors ever tutored by a monkey demon or served one? The redhead places a finger to his chin in thought, as he asks his mother that same question, and she provides an answer which he relays to them. According to Ka-sama the only monkey she can think of that the Trinity served under is Son Goku, the four-tailed monkey king. However they didn't serve under him so much as they were constantly trying to beat him and take his territory, which they always failed to do. After that he shrugs his shoulder in a I don't know what to tell you gesture. Shikaku at this point speaks up. Well, thank you for the information Lord Inataisho. Now we know a little more about our ancestors and where our abilities came from. You are free to go to your next meeting if you wish. We look forward to seeing your performance in the finals in a couple of days. The teen nods his head at the men, as the privacy seal comes down and he exits the room, leaving the three to discuss the new information amongst themselves. He proceeds to put his boots on and exit the house, and as he is exiting the gate to the compound he runs into Choji and Shikamaru. The lazy Nara heir asks, Naruto, what are you doing at my family's compound? Troublesome. Did you come hoping to watch me train so you can think of ways to beat me? The redhead just chuckles at this before answering, no Shika, I did not come here to watch you train. Actually I had a meeting with your father, as well as Choji's and Ino's just a moment ago. Now I am on my way to meet with Sum Inuzuka. If you'll excuse me my friends, train well, I'll see you at the finals. With that he walks past his two school friends and heads in the direction of the Inuzuka compound, leaving behind two confused boys who decide to head inside and ask their fathers about that meeting. Inuzuka compound. Another 20-minute walk sees him standing outside of the Inuzuka compound, and he stands there taking in the rough look of the place just on the outside, letting his senses take in all the sounds and smells. He smiles at the smell of dog coming from the compound, and in the back of his mind he knows that he's about to confirm his suspicions that the Inuzuka are descendant from some sort of canine demon, perhaps even a lower dog demon. He walks up to the gate, the guards taking defensive stances. However, sensing the aura of an alpha coming from him, their dogs crouch low to the ground, put their heads down with their necks out and whimper, surprising the two men. Naruto just chuckles. It seems your partners are a bit smarter than you two are. They know immediately to submit to an alpha. The two men growl at him, however he glares at them with his red, slitted eyes and they to begin to feel the alpha aura, so they back down, bowing at the waist as the one on the left says, go right on in my lord. The redhead chuckles at this, as he does as invited and walks into the compound. Heading towards the home of the head family, as he walks through, every dog and clan member he passes bow their heads, presenting their necks to him as they all feel his alpha aura. When he reaches the main house he finds Sum and her two children waiting for him, Kiba scowling at him as Akamaru cowers away from him, Hana looking with interest and feeling like submitting to him, while Sum bares her claws and fangs at him while unleashing her own alpha aura. The woman snarls out, you think you can come into my compound and submit my entire clan pup? Well then why don't you try to make me submit to you? Naruto laughs internally at this, as his eyes narrow, his teeth become sharper, his face marks broaden slightly, and he pops his knuckles, all while increasing his alpha aura. If I were you I would back down woman, you may be alpha of the pack, but I am the ultimate alpha. There is no way you can defeat me. As to prove him wrong the Inuzuka head launches herself at him, clawed hands extended going for his throat. He sidesteps her attack and before anyone can see or do anything, grips her by the throat and slams her into the ground. He proceeds to pin her down with his body as she tries to fight him off, and he locks eyes with her and lets out a deep and guttural growl. Sum begins to stop fighting, and eventually she bares her neck to him, meaning she submits to the greater alpha. At this point his animal instincts have taken over slightly, so he begins to nip at her throat in the way dogs do when mating, which has the affect of making the feral woman horny, and she begins to reciprocate his actions, licking at his face, nipping at his ears and Adam's apple. However they both are brought out of it by Kiba who shouts, What the hell are you trying to do to my Ka-san bastard? Naruto's eyes, teeth, and claws go back to normal and he regains his senses, so he gets off of Sume before he offers a hand to her to help back to her feet, which the brown-haired woman accepts with a smile. Once both are standing again, Sume glares at her youngest. Kiba, the next time you open your mouth to insult a guest of the clan you'll be cleaning the kennels by yourself for 3 months, understood? The 13-year-old boy glares at the ground but responds, yes Ka-san. The woman hums in satisfaction at this, as she turns to her guest. We'll have to finish that little exchange at a later time. I know why you're here. Let's go to my office. Oh, you don't mind if Hana comes along, do you? Naruto shakes his head no to let her know he has no problem with the younger woman's presence. The three proceed to walk into the house. However, Kiba speaks up again. Hey Ka-san, what about me? The wild-haired woman turns to her youngest and replies, you can go train. You still have a long way to go, pup. The wild-haired boy frowns at this, but turns and walks away with Akamaru following as he grumbles about stupid dead lasts. After this, the redhead and the two women enter the house, taking off their shoes at the door as usual, and proceed into Sume's office. Once inside, Sume does as the other clan head have done and activates a privacy seal. When the seal is active, the woman goes over to her desk, picks up the ancient-looking scroll upon it and hands it to the demon lord, saying, that's the record on the Inuzuka clan's demonic ancestor. I think that you might find it very interesting. The young man raises an eyebrow at that, but proceeds to read it nonetheless, and the name he finds makes his eyes widen. The name written upon the top of the scroll is Kage, the wolf demon. The very same one who used to fight with his uncle Inuyasha over the affections of his aunt, the human priestess Kagome. Naruto begins to chuckle, as he shakes his head, and says, well, that certainly is a surprise. I know that name. Kage was a wolf demon tribe leader. A powerful fighter for not being a Daiokai. He used to battle with my father's brother over the affections of a human girl, which my uncle won from the beginning. He also crossed paths with my father, who, despite the fact the Mons wolves had killed his eventual first mate in the past, let him go without fighting him. The two women are surprised by this, but the redhead continues on. Kage eventually mated with a wolf demoness named Ayame. It seems their son Ryoga mated with a half-dog demoness who was the daughter of a lesser dog demon who served under my grandfather. Their child, who was a son, took on the surname Inuzuka, mated with a human, and began your clan, as well as beginning your clan's tradition of dog breeding. But it seems your demonic blood starts with Kage. He hands the scroll back to Sume. The woman proceeds to lock it in her office's safe, under multiple seals. She then turns and gives him a lustful look. Well then, it seems our clan was made to submit to and serve you, Lord Naruto. He quirks a brow at this and says, oh really? So is that what you're prepared to do? To devote your entire clan to serving me? To submit yourself to me completely? Mind, soul, and body. As he says this, he moves closer and closer to her, and when he says the last words, his mouth is right next to her ear, and his hands caressing her hips. The wild-haired woman shudders in excitement at the feeling of his breath on her ear, and his hands on her body. However, their little moment is broken up by Hana clearing her throat. Mother, you can take him and hump his brains out later. Right now let's focus. It's obvious by the reactions of all of the clan members, and the display the two of you put on outside, that Naruto-san is a true alpha, which means the clan will follow him without question. I think the only one who won't is Kiba, but he's always been thick-headed. However, Naruto-san is not a member of the clan. Sume tuts at the 18-year-old's words before sighing and conceding her point. Then she gets an idea. Well, you're right about your brother Hana-chan. He believes himself to be an alpha when in fact he's more of a beta. Although if he doesn't shape up, he'll end up as an omega. As for Lord Naruto not being a member of the clan, that's easily fixed. She turns to the redhead with a devious smile on her face and asks, what would you say to taking me and Hana as mates? The 18-year-old brow-haired girl chokes on her spit at this as she begins coughing. Then she finally gets out, mother. How could you so easily make such an offer like that without even consulting with me first? What if I don't want to mate with him? The elder Inuzuka gives her daughter, are you serious? Look before replying. Really now, Hana-chan. What would be so wrong with being Naruto's mate? I mean, who else in or out of the clan can you think of who is strong enough to gain your attention? You're my heir, dear, current beta and future alpha of the clan. You need a strong mate to produce strong pups and to fuck you into the ground every single night. Hana blushes at the last part of her mother's speech, but then thinks about it, and realizes that she can't think of a single man in or out of the Inuzuka clan, who is interested in her, who is strong enough to be good mating material, let alone satisfy the insatiable sexual desires that all Inuzuka women possess. Sighing in defeat, she concedes, you're right, Ka-chan. Fine, I accept your decision. Sume smiles at her daughter, patting her on the head, then turns back to Naruto. Well, what do you say, Naruto-kun? Naruto thinks it over for all of 2 minutes before giving his response. I think it's an amazing idea. I accept. Sum-chan, the 36-year-old woman, smiles fairly at this. However, she squeaks in surprise when he pulls her in and lays a rough kiss on her to seal the deal. However, she quickly gets into it and turns it into a make-out. When they part, she has a glazed look in her eyes, mixed with lust, and Naruto's eyes flash lustfully for a moment, before settling down. He then turns to Hana and walks towards her. She begins to back away from him, however she has nowhere to go as her back hits the door. He pins her there with his arms on either side of her, leans in, and forcefully kisses the beautiful 18-year-old. At first she resists, pounding and then clawing at his chest. However, soon she stops and begins to reciprocate. The more she kisses him and takes in his scent, the more she realizes she's becoming turned on, and that excites her. However, after a couple of minutes he parts from her, leaving her dazed and quite wet down below. He smiles at her and says, "Couldn't leave you out of the deal, sealer. I believe I am going to enjoy having you two as my mates. I wish that I could stay and ravage the both of you right here and right now for the rest of the night, but unfortunately I can't. I have one more clan head to meet, so ladies, until next time." With that, he's covered in mist, and when it clears he's gone, leaving the two Inuzuka women hot and frustrated. Sum turns to her daughter with a smirk. "I saw that, you know? I saw how you resisted at first but then gave in. That is his power as a true alpha, Hana. We're lucky to now be his mates, but don't think for a second we're the only ones. An alpha as strong as Naruto-kun will have far more mates than just us two, and perhaps even a couple of mistresses." Hana nods her head in agreement with her mother's words, as she touches her lips with her fingers and relives that kiss, which was the best kiss she's ever had. Her mother brings her out of it with her next words, "Well, we better go and tell the rest of the clan about their new alpha. I just know Kiba is going to cause problems over our being Naruto's mates." Hana giggles at this as she and her mother exit the office and head towards the front door so they can inform their packmates of the big news. Aburame compound. Naruto finally finds his way to the Aburame compound. Of course, it wasn't easy getting there. When he was leaving the Inuzuka compound, he was stopped by Kiba, who proceeded to tell him to stay away from both his mother and his sister or else. Had laughed it off, and rather than speak with words he let his skills do the talking, quickly appearing behind the bull-headed boy faster than he could see and pinning his arms behind his back, and telling him that he couldn't stop him, Naruto. If he tried, then he pushed the boy forwards and told him to hurry back home as he was sure his mother had an announcement to make that had need to hear. Now the redhead is finally at the final compound for the day. The Aburame guards, seeing him, silently lead him to the clan head's house before heading back to their post. He knocks on the door and it's answered by a rather attractive woman, with long brown hair, and sharing the same trait as all Aburame, a long coat and sunglasses. However, her coat has the collar down. The woman speaks in a very soft voice. "Can I help you?" Naruto answers her. "Yes, I am here to speak with Shibi Aburame. Would I be correct in assuming that you were his wife and Shino's mother?" The woman inclines her head at this, a very well thought out deduction, young man. "Yes, I am Shina Aburame. Based upon your appearance, as well as your bearing and powerful energy, I deduce that you are Naruto Inataisho, former Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto nods at her. "You're correct, good lady. Your husband is expecting me." Shina, knowing this, steps outside, closing the door behind her, and softly says, "Come, I will lead you to my husband." As she walks off towards the woods behind the house, he follows close behind. When they finally find Shibi, the man is tending to the clan's hives, the ones that have yet to be implanted into clan children. Shina walks over to him, and as she approaches he turns towards her and she says, "You have a visitor, husband." The black-haired man inclines his head as he answers back, "Thank you, Shina. You may go back to the house if you wish." The brown-haired woman nods her head before turning around and heading back towards their home, leaving Naruto alone with her husband. The redhead, deciding to get this final meeting over with quickly, addresses the man. "I understand you wanted to talk to me about your clan's demonic ancestor. If you have the record, I'll take a look at it and try to tell you all I can about your demon ancestor." The man, finding this to be logical, walks closer to the teen, while reaching into right pocket on his coat and pulling out an old scroll. He hands the worn paper to the demon lord, who takes it with a nod of respect and begins to scan the contents, finding that the demon breed they are descendant from is bug demon, which explains their strong connection to their destruction bugs. The name of the demon that began their clan is Akimu. Naruto racks his brain for any information on the man, but can't find any, nor does Kurami know of him, so with a sigh he hands the scroll back to the man and says, "I am sorry, Aburame-san, but I can't really tell you anything about Akimu because neither I nor my mother has any knowledge of him. However, I think I know someone who might. In the village is a young lady. She hails from the Waterfall village. Her name is Fu." I am sure Shino told you about her. At this the Aburame head nods in confirmation. Naruto continues on. Well, Fu holds within her the queen of all bug demons. The seven-tailed rhinoceros beetle Daiokai. If you seek out Fu, I am sure that Chome will be able to provide her the information you seek. Shibi nods in thanks to this as he replies. Your words are logical, Lord Yoko Inataisho. I shall seek out this Fu of Waterfall and gain information in Akimu. I thank you for your help. With that he turns around to go back to tending to the hives, and Naruto, recognizing this as a dismissal, turns and leaves. Senju Estate 10 minuets later finds Naruto entering the gates of his current home, and as he nears the main house he sees three figures waiting for him. He smiles at seeing two of his mates, Fu and Anko, as well as his servant Kasumi waiting for him, and when he reaches them Anko lunges into his arms and lays a kiss on him. When she pulls away she licks her lips and says something that surprises him. You've been kissing Hana-chan, haven't you, Foxy-kun? He raises an eyebrow and responds. Yes, I have, her and her mother, but how would you know I've kissed Hana, my Snakeheim? The purplish black-haired woman giggles slightly at this before giving him an answer. Because I've made out with Hana-chan a couple of times and I know the taste of her lips pretty well. Your lips taste like hers. He chuckles at this as he moves over and gives Fu a welcome hug, then pats Kasumi on the head and asks, so what's for dinner, girls? All three smile at this and the four demon-blooded shinobi enter the house together. Day of the finals. Finally the day has arrived. The day where the Chunin exams will be decided and a winner crowned. On this fine day many people can be seen hustling and bustling around the street. Merchants peddling their wares out in the open, and crowds of people spending money like no tomorrow, bringing great revenue to the village. At the gates to the village many foreign diplomats and businessmen can be seen entering, eager to watch the tournament. Among the throngs of people entering the village, 4 people wearing dark, hooded cloaks can be seen standing on one of the many buildings near the west gate. The one on the right is of average height, standing at 5 feet and 10 inches tall. Their build is definitely male, and in his right hand he wields a golden shakuho. The 2 figures to the left are much shorter than the male, standing at around 5 feet and 4 inches each, and when their cloaks move you can see a hint of breasts, meaning these 2 are female. The first one has an enormous boomerang on her back, while the second has a kusarigama strapped to her left hip. The last figure, standing in the middle of the other 3, stands at 5 feet 7 inches tall, their entire figure hidden. However, strands of long silver-black hair can be seen poking out of their hood and blowing in the wind. Strapped to their side poking out of the cloak is the hilt of a katana. The figure reveals itself to be female as she speaks to her comrades, so this is where he has been living. It's a mite big place. 2-san would have a field day with all the different scents in the air here. The first smaller girl giggles at this. Knowing your dad, he'd be like a kid in a candy store, going to every single stall in the market and trying every food he could find, while your poor mother would be following close behind to try and keep him out of trouble. The only male of the group grunts at this as he turns slightly to the smaller girls and says, her mother? What about our mother? If our parents were here, 2-san would be going up to every beautiful woman he sees flirting, and Ka-chan would be getting her blood pressure up and beating him over the head with her hirokatsu. All the girls laugh at this, knowing that he speaks the truth. The taller woman clears her throat to stop the laughing. All right, enough messing around. Let's head towards the arena and watch these Chunin exams. If he is anything like his father then he wouldn't miss an opportunity to prove that he is stronger than all the weak humans. They all nod in agreement. With that the 4 make their way towards the arena. In the arena, the stands have begun to fill to capacity. As the winners of the prelims gather in the center of the arena, when all of the seats are filled, and all of the winners except for Sasuke are present, Jonin appears. This one is different from Hayate. He wears a bandana, with the leaf protector on the back over his shoulder-length brown hair. His skin is healthier and tan, and he chews on a senbon. The new Jonin introduces himself. My name is Genma Shiranui, and I'll be your proctor for the final phase. This gets shocked reactions from the genin, as Shikamaru asks, troublesome, what happened to the other guy? Genma gains a sad look before he blanks his face and answers, Gekko Hayate is dead, so I'll be overseeing the fights from here on out. Does anyone know where Sasuke Uchiha is? Everyone shrugs at the question. However, Naruto responds, Sasuke is with Kakashi Hatake. Knowing that Mon's habits, I can say that Sasuke will likely show up late. Genma shakes his head in exasperation at his friend transferring his lateness to one of his students. Meanwhile, up in the cage box, Hiruzen Sarutobi sits in his chair awaiting the arrival of his fellow Kage, as well as the leader of the Waterfall village, Shibuki. The first to arrive is a man of similar age to himself, but very short, standing at only about 4 feet tall, maybe a little more. He is bald on top of his head but has white hair around the sides and at the back, which is styled in a traditional chanmage and tied up in the back with a yellow ribbon into a topknot. He has a large red nose, triangular mustache and goatee, and bushy eyebrows. He wears a green and yellow coat with a red collar, underneath which he wears the traditional Rock Village outfit consistent of a light green version of Rock's flak jacket and mesh armor. He however has both his sleeves of his shirt, and a single lapel on his right side. Along with this, he wears sandals. This man is the third Tsuchikage Onoki, also known as Onoki the Fence Sitter, Hiruzen's greatest rival as a Kage. The third Hokage decides to greet the man. Welcome Tsuchikage Dono. I hope that the trip here wasn't hard on you. I know the problems you've been having with your back lately. The slightly older man just scowls as he responds to his rival's quip. You're one to talk Hokage Dono. After all, you're only 6 years younger than myself. But fret not, my trip was fine. My son-in-law carried me on his shoulders most of the way, as he motions to one of his 2 guards, who is a very large man, standing over 7 feet tall, and built like a tank, with a large nose, short brown hair, and a triangular beard. Sarutobi nods his head towards the man, as he motions for his rival to take the first seat to his right. Please take a seat Tsuchikage Dono, your guards may stand behind you. The man silently thanks him and takes his seat. The next to arrive is a large man, nearly as tall as the Onoki's son-in-law, standing at 6 feet and 6 inches, with white blonde hair that is combed back, a small mustache and beard, and the usual dark skin tone of Cloud Village. He has a very large and muscular build, looking like a bodybuilder. His face is very distinguished with pronounced cheekbones and tear troughs under his eyes, and a prominent crease across his forehead. He has pointed canines and his top lip also has a darker hue than the bottom one. He wears his white Kage haori, which is left open exposing his shirtless torso. He has gold bangle bracelets on each wrist which have protrusions that can jut out. He also wears a gold belt around his waist with a boar's face engraved in the center. All of these aspects combined give him the appearance of a professional wrestler or boxer. This is the fourth Hokage of Hidden Cloud. With him are his 2 guards. The first man has shaggy white hair and a lazy look on his face. Upon his shoulders are the kanji for lightning and water respectively. The other man is almost as large as with the same white blonde hair, wearing sunglasses, with a tattoo of bull's horns on his face, wearing the traditional Cloud flak jacket, and multiple swords strapped to his back. Sarutobi smiles jovially at the large Kage. Welcome Hokage Dono. How was your trip from Cloud? The large man takes the second seat to the left of him as he replies. Thank you for the welcome Hokage Dono. To answer your question, my trip would have been fine if not for my idiot brother always rapping. You old folks are lucky you don't have any surviving siblings. Both Onoki and Hiruzen laugh at this. Next to arrive is the Kage, who is an average-sized man, who is wearing the traditional clothes of the Kage, that being a loose-fitting green kimono with a white collar and the signature white and green hat with the kanji for wind on the center. Most of his face is covered by a white cloth. The Hokage greets the man. Kage Dono, welcome. Please sit. I am sure you cannot wait to see your children fight. The younger Kage nods his head as he takes a seat and says, yes, I am very eager to see how my children do, especially Gaia. I am just glad the exams were here this year. I would hate for you and Tsuchikage Dono to have to take a long trip with your advanced ages Hokage Dono. Don't the 2 of you think it's time to find a 4th Tsuchikage and 5th Hokage? Onoki scowls at this, while Sarutobi chuckles jovially. The oldest Kage sniffs and says, mind your business, boy. I am still healthy enough to do my duties, and there is no one in my village strong enough to take my place. Hiruzen however just says, I am not yet so old that I can't take care of things. I may stay in office another 10 years, I feel so good. The Kage just inclines his head. Finally the last village leader appears. He is the youngest amongst them, being only about 20, with long dark brown hair. He wears a light yellow kimono jacket and light gray pants with a red scarf around his neck and a turquoise cardigan. He is Shibuki, the leader of Waterfall Village. After exchanging timid greetings with all his elder leaders, he takes the second seat to the right of the Hokage. Hiruzen believes it's time to begin the finals, and so he stands up to make his speech. Back down with the competitors, Genma, seeing his Sarutobi about to make his speech, says, Alright everyone, look alive. This is your moment. All the genin stand at attention, listening to the Hokage's speech about how the Chunin exams are a substitute for war, and how today the best and brightest of each of the villages will show their stuff and prove the strengths of their villages. After he's done, he takes his seat and Genma turns to the competitors. Alright, the first match is Neji Hyuga vs Naruto Yoko Inutesho, so everyone but those to head up to the competitors' box. Everyone turns to leave the arena, and as Fu passes Naruto, she says, Kick his butt real good, Naruto-kun. Teach him the difference between a human and a demon. The redhead nods at her, and she kisses him on the cheek, shocking many before running off. Genma smiles at him. Seems you have a way with the lady's kid. Good work, as Naruto and Neji stand across from each other. The Hyuga prodigy glaring at the redhead, and said redhead not even looking at his opponent, staring off into the stands and thinking. Tenseiga is pulsating, as if it senses its opposite, but that's impossible because its opposite is the Tesseiga and that is in the possession of Uncle Inuyasha and I know he isn't here. I'll deal with it after I beat Neji. Genma brings him out his thoughts. Are both competitors ready? He gets a simple nod from Naruto, while Neji gets in his fighting stance so he continues. Okay then. First match Neji Hyuga vs Naruto Yoko Inataisho. Begin. With that he vanishes. Neji begins to speak once Genma is gone. You should forfeit now. I am fated to win this match. You are a dead last loser who is fated to fail at everything you do. That is your fate and you cannot change it no matter what you do. Naruto sighs and begins to walk towards the boy as he answers back. There is no such thing as fate. Fate is just the crutch of the weak, who cannot change their lives. Each person makes their own fate in life, and I choose to make my fate that of the ruler of this continent and no one shall stand in my way, especially not some weakling who tries to kill his own cousin just because he lost his daddy. At his last word he is upon the older teen who is forced to flip backwards to avoid being torn in half by the demon lord's claws. The white-eyed boy lands on his feet 20 feet away and activates his Byakugan and uses it to glare at the redhead, as he has a snarl on his face. How dare you speak of my father? You know nothing of what you speak, you loser. You think you will rule the elemental nations. How will you do that when you are dead? He takes his gentle fist stance again and rushes Naruto and begins unleashing a barrage of palm strikes at him. However, Naruto blocks and counters every one of his strikes, the whole time keeping his eyes closed, almost mocking the other boy. After 10 minutes of this the redhead finds an opening and exploits it, hitting Neji with a bone-rattling kick to the stomach which sends the brown-haired boy skidding back 30 feet. The Hyuga boy grits his teeth as he thinks to himself, How is he keeping up with me? He was the worst of his class. Transforming into a demon couldn't have increased his skills that much. No, that not it, it's my own fault. I let my anger at his comment about my father get to me. I need to calm down. He proceeds to close his eyes and start taking deep, calming breaths. After a few moments he opens his still activated Byakugan eyes and has a calm look on his face as he says. Very clever dead last. You got me worked up so that I would get sloppy, however it will not happen again. Now the real fight begins. He rushes Naruto again, and the two once again engage in an exchange of blows, with the redhead once again blocking or redirecting his strikes. This time however it's Neji that takes advantage of an opening and launches a double palm strike to Naruto's stomach, which sends him back 5 feet. Before the redhead can regain himself the brown-haired boy takes new stands with one arm level to the ground and the other extended out behind himself as he says, You are within my field of divination. He rushes the demon lord calling out, 8 trigrams 64 palms, as he proceeds to unleash a barrage of palm strikes to Naruto increasing the number of strikes by 2 each time, counting up until he reaches 64 and calling out, 64 palms. With the last strike he sends the redhead flying back 15 feet as he breaths deep and takes his normal gentle fist stance. Up in the stands, Hiyashi and the rest of the Hyuga clan watches, and the clan head thinks to himself, to think that a member of the branch house could learn the 64 palms at such a young age, have we of the main house been surpassed by the branch house? Sitting next to him are his daughters, who are having their own thoughts, Hanabi thinking that it's probably over as no one fights after receiving the 64 palms. Hinata however seeing Naruto still standing thinks to herself, Naruto-kun. Why allow Neji-Nisan to hit you with the 64 palms? What are you planning? Please Naruto-kun win. Neji turns to Genma who just reappeared and says, Proctor-san called a match, he won't be able to continue fighting. The Senbon chewing man looks towards Naruto and sees him still on his feet, but with his body slacked and his head lowered. As he goes to call the match everyone suddenly hears light laughter which begins to pick up. And soon they pinpoint the source as the red-headed demon lord. Suddenly the teen stands up straight tilting his head to the sky and laughing loudly, ha 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 ha. So that the 64 palms technique of the Hyuga clan. I must say it's impressive for a human technique, however it's not quite good enough to put me down. Naruto lowers his head and looks directly at Neji who is shocked that he's still conscious let alone standing and asks, How can you still move? I sealed off your tenketsu, you should be knocked out and on the ground. Naruto chuckles as he pops his knuckles and answers, Oh, your technique was flawless, however you made a fatal mistake. You see the gentle fist was made to fight against other humans, never against demons. My skin, muscle tissue, and bones are much stronger than a human's, so your strikes never even went past my skin. Now I think it's my turn. Genma vanishes again, as Naruto's claws begin to glow white and right before everyone's eyes he vanishes. He appears to the left of Neji and brings his claws down towards him saying, "Tearing Windclaw." Neji, knowing he can't dodge or block, decides to bring out his trump card, and he begins to spin, calling out, 8 trigrams revolving heaven, creating a dome of chakra around himself, as the redhead's wind-coated claws clash against the chakra dome, causing an explosion and sending Naruto flying back 100 feet, however he lands on his feet. Everyone is surprised by this new techniques from the Hyuga boy, as the other rookie Leaf Genin, who are mostly sitting together, begin to talk about it, Sakura asking, "What the heck is that chakra dome?" Tenten is the one who answers, "That's Neji's trump card, the Hyuga clan's ultimate defense. By spinning while releasing chakra from all the tenketsu in the body, you create a dome of chakra that deflects everything. Now that Neji is using that, Naruto can't win." Kiba growls at this, as he sees the redhead staring at the dome and analyzing it. As he says, "There is no way Naruto will lose to that cocky bastard. My mother and sister recognize him as an alpha, and there is no way they would do that if he was weak enough to lose to a guy like Neji." Sakura scoffs at this and says, "Yeah right, dream on dog breath. Naruto has always been a loser and he always will be a loser. There's no way he'll beat Neji, because Neji is a prodigy like Sasuke-kun." Choji shakes his head at this while eating his chips. "You should nt speak so badly about your teammate Sakura. I for one believe in Naruto." The pink-haired girl just turns her head away with her nose up at this. Elsewhere in the stands, the 4 mysterious figures watch in anticipation, as the katana-wielding woman says, "How will he handle this situation, I wonder?" Her companions humming in agreement with her, as the sensei and other jonin watch with anticipation. Up in the cage box, Sarutobi is on the edge of his seat, thinking to himself, "How are you going to counter the ultimate Hyuga defense, Naruto-kun?" The redhead looks at his hand, which now has some contact burns, and watches as his demonic energy already begins working to repair the damage. He puts his attention back on the now stationary teen, who has a smug look on his face as he says, "Do you finally see how futile it is? You may be faster than me, perhaps even stronger, however no matter what you do, as long as I have the ultimate defense, you cannot win." Naruto clicks his tongue at this, as decides to ask a question that has been on his mind since the prelims. "Tell me something, Neji. Why did you try to kill Hinata? Why do you hate your cousin so much when she has never wronged you?" The brown-haired boy is taken by surprise at this but answers nonetheless, "I hate her because she is the reason that my father is dead." He proceeds to tell the redhead about the main and branch houses and how branch members are branded with curse seals to keep them in line. He tells him that his father Hizashi was the twin to Hinata's father Hiyashi, and because he was born a few seconds later was placed into the branch house. He recounts for all to hear the story of Cloud's attempted kidnapping of Hinata and how Hiyashi killed the kidnapper, who turned out to be the Cloud ambassador. How the Cloud demanded the body of Hiyashi, and instead, to protect the main house, they killed his father and gave them his body instead, because the curse seal destroys the Byakugan at death and they didn't want Cloud Village to get their bloodline. So you see, Hinata is to blame. If she hadn't been so weak, then the kidnapper would never have gotten her, Hiyashi would not have killed him, and my father would not have had to be sacrificed. Naruto scoffs at this and replies, "You're an idiot." The brown-haired boy scowls as the redhead continues, "You blame Hinata for something that happened when she was only 3 years old. You say it was her weakness that caused all that? No, Neji, it was not Hinata's fault. What could a 3-year-old do to a fully grown and trained shinobi? Nothing. No, the fault lies with the Hyuga guards, and with Hiyashi himself for not watching over his eldest better." Up in the stands, the Hyuga elders all become angry at the boy's words. However, Hiyashi looks down, knowing that he speaks the truth, that if he had only been more attentive to what was going on in his home, then his beloved twin would still be alive. Hinata begins to sniffle, having never knew till now exactly why Neji hated her. Neji reacts with rage, "Shut up. What do you know? I've had to suffer with this seal upon my head since I was 4 years old. A caged bird who can never be free. It's time for you to feel the full power of the Hyuga." He takes the 8 trigrams stance again. "You are within my field. 8 trigrams, 128 palms." As he rushes him and unleashes another barrage of strikes. However, this time Naruto proves the difference between them as he uses his speed to dodge every single strike, including the 128th by jumping backwards. Neji begins to breath heavily as the redhead cracks his neck, smile ferally and says, "Now it's my turn." He takes a stance with his legs bent low but in a horse-like stance, his arms crossed in an X shape with his claws extended, and then he begins to sway back and forth. As he does this, he seemingly multiplies and creates a circle around the teen before he says, "Fox style, dance of 100 claws." Then he and the clones vanish. Soon though Neji finds him, or so he thinks, and unleashes a palm strike to his right. However, his hand goes through that Naruto and a moment later his back explodes in pain. as the redhead leave deep scratches. Very quickly Neji's body begins to be filled with scratches. And each time he thinks he's found the demon lord, it turns out to be an illusion and he gets another hit. Eventually he gets tired of this, and as Naruto goes for the finishing blow, Neji begins spinning again, so he backs off to avoid hitting the chakra dome. As Neji continues to spin, Naruto stands up straight and grips the hilt of Tokijin, drawing it out. The brown-haired boy stops spinning and, seeing the sword in the other teen's hand, says, "What do you think you're going to do with that? If you attempt to strike me with it, I'll use the revolving heaven and break it." Naruto chuckles as he responds, "How about we end this in style, Neji? The power of my Tokijin against your ultimate defense. Let us see which is stronger, the sword or the shield." The Hyuga prodigy smirks at this, believing the blade to be normal and his defense to be indestructible, so he replies, "Very well." However, his eyes widen when the redhead brings the sword up, holding it horizontally in front of his face, and it begins to glow, and the boy holding it becomes wrapped in a powerful aura of energy. Naruto smirks at his look and explains, "Tokijin isn't a normal sword, Neji. It was forged from the fang of a powerful demon named Goshinki by the demon bladesmith Kaijinbo for my father. The blade allows me to course my demonic energy through it and use a powerful lightning attack. I do hope your ultimate defense will be able to protect you. It would be a shame if I broke my promise to Hinata-chan and killed you." Neji watches as the lightning from the blade begins to tear up the ground around the demon lord, and he gulps a little, before he notices the teen readying his attack and begins to spin, calling out once again 8 trigrams revolving heaven. Naruto smirks as he lifts his sword high in the air before bringing it down and intoning, "Dragon Strike," as he unleashes a much larger wave of lightning than a few weeks ago, this time the energy taking the shape of a dragon as it heads straight for the chakra dome. The two powerful attacks collide, the dragon roaring as it fights against the dome of chakra, and the dome straining under the strength of the energy beast. However, the dragon proves to be the stronger, as the dome begins to crack, and eventually shatters, leaving Neji to be bathed in the energy of the lightning creature, and causing a loud boom to ring out, kicking up dust and smoke. Everyone in the stands hold their breaths, waiting to see the aftermath of this final clash. When the smoke clears, it shows a stone-faced Naruto standing over a pretty badly hurt, but still alive and awake Neji. The brown-haired boy looks up at his opponent and says, "Well, it looks as though I was wrong. You've won, now finish it." The redhead sheaths Tokijin, sighs and says, "Shut up, I am not going to kill you. I made a promise to my future mate Hinata that I would let you live, and so I shall. But for my mercy, I want you to promise me that you will apologize to your cousin for your actions, and will give up your grudge against the main house, as revenge will never bring back your father, nor will it let him rest in peace in the afterlife. Continue to fight against your fate, Neji Hyuga." Naruto turns and walks away as Genma reappears, and seeing that Neji can't continue, calls out, due to Neji Hyuga's inability to continue. The winner of the first match is Naruto Yoko Inataisho. This announcement has many mixed reactions. The Leaf Village civilians all boo, while the foreign visitors cheer, with the rookie Genin, Choji, Kiba, and even Lee, who arrived halfway through, are cheering as loud as they can for Naruto's victory, while Sakura just huffs, and Tenten can't believe Neji lost. The elder ninja all have different reactions. Kurenai claps politely for the red-haired teen, while Guy shouts about his flames of youth. Asuma smirks and says, "Good for him." Anko, Sum, and Hana are all cheering loudly for him and talking about how that's their Naruto-kun. In the competitors' box, Tamari and Gaia are both smiling at his victory, while Fu is jumping up and down in excitement about her mate's victory. Kuretsuchi and Yugito Ni give the teen looks of respect. Akatsuchi picks his nose, while Konkuro complains about frickin' monsters. Shino's bugs warn him against his friend. Ino is impressed, Shikamaru finds it troublesome, Karui and Omoi argue, and Ayaka smirks at the strength of her new lord. Up in the cage box, all of the village leaders clap at Naruto's performance and strength as I says, "You got quite a strong kid there, Hokage Dono. Tell me, is he from some clan we've never heard of?" Hiruzen just smiles and answers, "You could say that. Naruto is one of our strongest genin. In fact, I would place his strength equal to most of our jonin. But then again, his situation is special. I dare say that when he gets a bit older and wiser, he could take the hat from me someday." Onoki scoffs at this as he says, "Special situation? Just come out and say it's Sarutobi. That boy is your Jinchuriki, and that is why he is so powerful. I would expect nothing else, since he holds the strongest tailed beast, the 9 tails. The Hokage inclines his head at this but replies, "You are correct. He does hold the Kyuubi. However, all the power and skill he displayed in that match are his own." The Kage then decides to put his 2 cents in. "My children tell me that the boy is an actual demon. Is that true, Hokage Dono? If so, then perhaps having him in the exams is a danger to all the other competitors." Hiruzen narrows his eyes at this as he thinks, what is your game Orochimaru? That's right, the old man knows that the Kage is an imposter, and is in fact his former student in disguise. He can sense his chakra anywhere. The old man answers, yes, it is true, he is an actual demon. Both of his birth parents were powerful demons and it is from their genes that he gets his strength and power, but I assure you is not a danger to anyone, unless they anger him. Shibuki begins to stammer at this, as Ai and Onoki gain incredulous looks. One Ai's guards, the glasses-wearing one in a rare moment says, so what if he's a demon? The kid has style, and he obviously knows how to control his power. Plus, did you see that huge lightning dragon he made, bro? It was fucking spectacular. Ai's face softens somewhat at this as he chuckles at his brother's words. You're right about that, B. That lightning dragon was pretty cool. After everyone has settled down, Genma announces the next match. Will Gaia of the Sand and Sasuke Uchiha please make their way to the arena floor? The second match is about to begin. Gaia appears in a whirlwind of sand with her arms crossed over her breasts as usual, and waits along with everyone else for the appearance of the Uchiha heir. Everyone waits for 5 minutes, as an Anbu appears next to Sarutobi and whispers in his ear, we cannot find Sasuke Uchiha, sir. Do you want to postpone his fight? The old man sighs and shakes his head. I expect this sort of thing from Kakashi, but I would expect Sasuke to be on time for his own exam. The imposter Kage says, how about we push back this fight? I know that many came here to watch the Uchiha heir fight my youngest daughter. Waiting until all the other matches are finished will build the anticipation. Ai and Onoki both go to protest this, however Hiruzen glares and responds, no. Favoritism will not be shown because of someone's name. If Sasuke cannot show up on time for an exam fight, then he has proven he can't show up on time for a mission and thus is not Chunin material. However, I am not unfair. We will give the boy another 5 minuets to show up. If he does not, then he will be disqualified. He turns and tells the Anbu to relay this message to Genma. The proctor receives the message and announces, by decision of the Hokage, Sasuke Uchiha has 5 minutes to appear in the center of the arena or Gaia of Sand shall win by disqualification. This causes most of the civilians, and even Sakura, to boo and make comments about how it's unfair. Up in the competitor's booth, Naruto is leaning against the wall with his arms crossed, as Fu leans against him. When the 5 minuets have finally elapsed, Genma steps forward and says, due to his absence at this time, I declare that Sasuke Uchiha is disqual. Suddenly in the middle of his speech there's a swirls of leaves, and standing there back to back is Kakashi and Sasuke. The gray-haired Jonin Ai smiles at Genma and says, we're not late, are we? The brown-haired man gains a tick mark as he answers, as a matter of fact, yes you are. I was 1 second away from disqualifying Sasuke, but since you made it there's no need. Kakashi sighs in relief at this, as Sasuke asks, who won the first fight? The special Jonin smirks at this and answers, your teammate. He kicked the Hyuga kid's ass pretty good. The dark-haired girl in disguise smiles at this, as Kakashi says, alright, it's your time now, Sasuke. Remember what I taught you and you should do fine. Sasuke nods at his teacher and responds, right, since the Dobi won there's no way I am going to lose and let him upstage me. With that, Kakashi body flickers up to where all the other Jonin sensei are, who proceed to berate him for being late and cutting it close. Genma turns to the 2 competitors and asks, are both competitors ready? The cork on Gaia's gourd comes out and her sand begins to move around her in response, while Sasuke takes the Uchiha Taijutsu stance and nods. So Genma proceeds to announce, the second match of the Chunin exam finals. Gaia of Sand vs Sasuke Uchiha. Begin. Thanks for watching.